Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. From every nation, all of creation, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O Ancient of Days. Oh, blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. From every nation, all of creation, Lord divine, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. My Lord, in worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O Ancient of Days. O Ancient of Days.
Well, what's wrong with this? Okay. Sorry, guys. I have a... There we are. I had the overlay on there. So good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the an Otiot discussion. Good to see everybody. All righty. So today it's so good. Welcome, Karen. Good to see you, my friend. We'll have to catch up and talk very soon. We have lots to catch up on. Karen is been a friend of mine for a long time, so it's good to see her today. And welcome, Amanda and Betty and Nina and Asia, Lee. It's good to see everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and add this one, my PowerPoint, to the screen and forward it. Okay, let me see if I can just make a few adjustments here. All righty. All right. My background's not looking quite right, but that's okay. I'll just change it. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Don't want anything to be too distracting. So I wanted to share with you guys the inspiration for this one. You know, the last time I did an Otiot, I just did the word seed, and we learned a lot from that. And, you know, two of my favorite teachers have always been Bill Cloud and the late Brad Scott. And I listened to a lot of the things that I have learned. I've learned it either directly from them or something that they have said has sparked me to dig further. And that's where a lot of it comes from. They're two of the most grounded Torah teachers that I have ever encountered. And I really appreciate everything that they've given us. So I was meditating really on this particular verse and wanted to do the Otiot and Herbal Otiot because of the different things I was seeing in the book of the Song of Solomon's, which is just lovely, right? So Song of Solomon's 4:16 says, "Awake, O north wind, and come, you south wind, blow upon my garden, that the aromatics may flow out. My darling shall come into his garden, and he shall eat his fine fruits." Okay. So to start with an herbal Otiot discussion. Yeah, Amanda, he is Brad Scott's stuff. Some of the stuff, I mean, that he did 20 years ago, I'm still getting my brain wrapped around what he was sharing. He was just very advanced in the message that he had, right? And I really enjoy his teaching still. And it's a blessing to his widow, Carol, when we order his teachings and things still from the site. His site's still up. And I actually have a link to that on our website at www.heartofthetribes.org. You can find a direct link, Wild Branch Ministries, right? All right, so garden. Let's look at the word garden. So the first thing that we're looking at, the word is gone. You can see I've got it there in the modern and in the pictograph. So we have a gimel and a noon safit in the modern, and we have a gimel and a noon in the pictograph. Okay. So the word picture for me, that gimel is like a camel's foot. To me, it's almost easier to see in the modern, the camel foot part, but you can see like a leg with a foot in the pictograph, right? And then you've got the noon, and it's real easy to discern in the word picture. It's like generations sprouting forth. It's like a new little plant that's coming up out of the ground, right? It's life. It's springing to life. So the word picture for garden is it's a journey of life, right? And it's so interesting when we're talking about the garden, right? A place of life, a place that we're trying to journey back to, right? So that we can have fullness of life. That is what Yah always wanted us to have. Now, what's interesting about the word garden, we've only got a 2-letter word, and then it connects to a 3-letter root word, right? A primitive root word. And so that primitive root word is ganon. Okay. And so when we're looking at, I always take things, I use the Mattiyahu Clark's etymology of biblical Hebrew for my root words. I'm always looking back at that one. It's a fantastic book for studying out the roots. So in his work, he says that the etymology, let me see if I have it real quick so I can show you guys. I'm just looking to see if I have it around. Oh, I do. It's right here at my foot. So this is one of my absolute favorite for studying root words. Okay. So anyway, when I looked in here, so every time that I'm saying the etymology, I'm referring to what I was able to find through that particular book. So the etymology, which the word etymology itself means like a journey to truth, right? It's finding the emet of something. It's finding the true meaning. Brad always described it as the snow on the top of the mountain, right? This is where it was, where it's at its purest form, right? Before it has to travel down the mountain into the stream and become muddy and full of silt by the time it gets to the ocean. So that's what we're looking at. That's when I'm talking about etymology. That's what we're looking at. So the etymology for garden is protect for man's use, safeguarding, insulating, an enclosed garden. So I thought that was interesting. And it had, what I love about using this book is it will give you connections back in other places of the Tanakh where a form of this word is used. So in Genesis 15:1, where it's used is as the shield. It's it's magin, right? And so you can see it right there. We've got the gon, but then you've got the mem for the chaotic waters, right? Or the waters, right? And it's a shield. So so amazing that, where the waters flow, there's that journey of life is being made. We were just talking about this, that's where life is. It's out in the seas, out in the oceans, and he is our Magen for us in the midst of it all. He is a shield. He's protecting our life. He's with us through the journey of life. He knows where we're at in the seas, in the world, right? So I just found that really interesting. In Genesis 15:1, after these things, the word of Yahuah came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear not, Avram. I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. Okay, so that was the first word I wanted to look at. I have to get started. If we're going to get started someplace, the garden is a good place to start, right? All right, so what else do we see in Song of Solomon? We see the word spices, right? So in spices, the Hebrew is besim or basam, depending upon how you choose to pronounce it. I'm not the best at pronunciations. Where I like to focus is taking things to the pictograph. So if you're looking for exact transliteration or exact Hebrew being able to speak it exactly, I'm not the one for that. I say I speak Southern Hebrew, but I like to concentrate on the pictographs, right? So what have we got here? We've got for besim or basam, we've got a bet, a shin, and a mem safit if you're looking in the modern, or just a mem if you're looking at the pictograph. Okay, so our word picture is, it starts with a house, right? It starts with a family. It starts about what's going on the inside. Okay, so this house, and then you've got the shin, which is, it's the teeth. It's something's being chewed up, right? That's what the pictograph is. It's the teeth, and which destroys the food so that it will be digestible and can bring nourishment, right? So there's a destruction that comes in order to make things digestible, right? So, and then you've got the picture of the waters, okay? The mem. So this house consumes the waters, right? So what do herbs do except take up nutrients in the form of moisture that's in the soil, right? And so it brings that goodness unto it. So a spice is something that is taking from, it's being infused with the waters of what's going to help us, right? What's going to help that house. So when I looked at the Brown Driver Briggs, it says that the word means spice, the balsam tree, something for perfume, something that has a sweet smell or odor. The etymological dictionary says it's something that's been cut up. It's fragrant, sweet spices. So I wanted to look at some verses that are using that. So Exodus 30, 22 through 25 says, moreover, Yahuah spoke unto Moshe, saying, take also unto you principal spices of pure myrrh, 500 shekels, and of sweet cinnamon, half so much, even 250 shekels, and of sweet calamus, 250 shekels, and of cassia, 500 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, and an oil, and of oil olive a hin, and ye shall make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of the apothecary, and it shall be a holy anointing oil. Okay, so that's our word spices right there. All right, let's go to the next one. So then it hit me, oh, okay, well, let's look at this word. Who is the apothecary? What's that word, right? I find the more Hebrew words that I look at, the more connections I find for myself as I'm studying, right? That's why I love doing these studies, is because my vocabulary increases. And then when I see things, it helps me make connections, and it makes these, Brad, when he was teaching, always taught about how everything is, it all can go back. It's the birds and the bees, the flowers and the trees. It's agriculture, right? Everything is in these agricultural terms. Well, I live in a place where if I want chicken, it comes in a package at the grocery store. right? I do some gardening, but this is the society that we live in. And so we are very far removed from our agricultural roots, which makes it more difficult for us to understand what Yah was trying to communicate in his word to us, right? Because we don't live in that type of a society. And so the more words that we begin to look at here, the more the concepts will begin to make sense as things, as we read the parables, as we read the stories, they'll make more sense. That's why I like looking at it. So apothecary, that word is rakak. Okay, so we have a resh, a kuf, and a het. Now, the Brown Driver Briggs says it means to mix, compound, a perfumer. It's someone who mixes things, who takes them and combines them. And I believe that this is very different than someone who alters the natural purpose. Right now we've got a lot of CRISPR technology, GMO, gene splicing stuff that's going on. My husband and I made a decision when he really realized that everything now is almost geoengineered. So to us, to be committed to eating a biblically clean lifestyle means not consuming things that have been genetically modified, because I don't know if they decided to take pig intestines and insert it into my tomato. I know that one of the things I've become more aware of lately is that all sugar has been processed with bone. Well, we're not to, eat, we're not to do that, so I'm looking at that and going, that means things that are full of sugar, that it's like a type of cannibalism, right? This is where my mind's going with it. I'm like, we don't want that, right? And so I'm really glad that I've made that decision to stay away from processed sugar, for that reason, because I don't know what's in it. It's been genetically modified, right? And I can't trust what's in it. So we have to think about it very differently in today's day and age, right? So anyway, that's a different type of mixing. This mixing was taking things like an herbalist, the apothecary, like an herbalist, like someone who had knowledge of things in their natural state that were meant to be complementary to each other, to make a pleasing aroma, just like they did in the mixing of the anointing oil, right? So there's a difference there. So that word is rakak. So you can see, like, the mind, if you're looking at this in the Hebrew, I'm looking at this resh and being, this is where the brain is, right? It's in the mind. Okay. And then kuf, you've got the sun and the horizon. It's almost like something that was far away. Okay. So you can even think like time period, right? Things, knowledge, that's long in its process, ancient. Okay. And then you've got, this wall, this division. So this apothecary would be someone who has ancient wisdom of how to be separated. It's one way of looking at it. Like I said, with the Otiots, sometimes we have to work on them for a while to get a complete word picture. And I'm just looking at it. I don't have one on my slide because I was like, I don't really have one yet, but that's kind of where my brain is going. So if anybody else have something else, it doesn't always mean that I'm going to have the right one. It's sometimes other people will come up with one and I'm like, oh gosh, that's great. Thanks for sharing it with me. So if you see something, let us know. All right. So the next word I went to was ointments, which is the word shemen. It's a great word. So we've got a shin, a mem, and a nun safit in the modern. And we've got the shin, the mem, and just the nun in the pictograph. So the Brown Driver Briggs says that this word means fat, oil, olive oil, an oil that is a staple or a medicative or ungent, right? When I took it to the etymological dictionary, it says that it means to nourish, being fat and corpulent, being healthy, oil. 8 and multiples of 8, 8-stringed instrument, lusty and abundance. Well, that just blew me away this is why I like going further than just the Brown Driver Briggs or the Strongs, right? Is because we see things that go on a much deeper level. I wouldn't have realized just by looking at that explanation, how far this went. Well, 8, is like the number of renewal, right? We celebrate Sukkot, and then we have Simchat Torah for the very last day on the 8th day, right? And it's a whole new start to a whole new Torah cycle, to its new beginnings, right? We're starting something that's new, but yet it's not brand new, it's renewed, and we're going further. To me, when you're looking at time in this circular manner, right? It's not the timeline, it's the circle of time. It's things that are, it's prophecy, it's going in a circle, and there's part of it, and then it's renewed, and it goes a little further, and there's more to the picture, and then you go around again. It's what I love about doing the Torah cycle year after year after year, because I'm telling you, every year I'm like, I never saw this before. I never understood this before. This is almost like brand new information. And it's because some foundations have been laid, and then yet now I'm ready for new oil, right? I'm ready for the new oil coming into my brain. And oil is the main thing that feeds the brain, which is really interesting when you look at it from the natural perspective. And so I just found that so interesting with the multiples of 8 and the 8-stringed instrument, right? I mean, just absolutely amazing. So the verses out of the etymological that I found that connect to this, Ecclesiastes 7:1, a good name is better than precious ointment. Out of Genesis 49:20, out of Asher, his bread shall be fat, right? It's going to be dense. It's going to have oil in it. The bread of life is it's not just flour. It's got a lot of oil. It's dense. It's heavy. What he has to bring fat, it yields royal dainties, really interesting to see as we identify more, who is the tribe of Asher today, and what that tribe is going to bring forth for the greater good of the entire all of greater Yahshar'el, very interesting. So Genesis 5:25 says, and Methuselah lived 187 years. So that multiple of 80 right there, that 800 years, right, is the word Shemin. And I would have never caught on to that without looking into this, right? And Psalm 6:1, to the chief musician on Neganoth, upon the sheminith. So the 8-stringed instrument, the sheminith. That's the 8-stringed instrument right there. Very interesting. In the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 3, because of the Savior of your good ointments, your name is as an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the damsels love you. And this again is not about the exact way that your brain has said that this should be pronounced. This is about understanding the nature of whose name it is you're saying, the identity of who it is. He is the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, right? It's an understanding. This is what brings forth the oil, right? This is what brings forth the richness. It's his name, his nature, his character, his identity, his authority, right? This is who we're looking to. Okay. All right. So, because of the Savior of your good ointment, your name is his ointment poured forth. Therefore, do the damsels love you. All right. So, our next one is pleasant fruits. I wanted to look at, well, what in the world are the pleasant fruits? It is Meged Pari. Okay. So, let's look at it in the modern first. We've got the Mem, the Gimel, the Dalet. This is Meged. This is pleasant. Okay. And then Pari is the fruits. It's fruit. It's a pei, a resh, and a yod. Okay. And you can see it in the pictograph and in the modern. So we're going to dig in here. Let's look. The Meged, when we look at Brown Driver Briggs, it just says that it's excellence. Okay. So something that is pleasant has a quality of excellence in it. That's pretty, Amanda, that she says that he meets us in each new season. He really does. He really does. Okay. Good morning, past, present herbs. Oh, good. You might have some insights for us today as we're doing an herbal Otiot discussion. I'm glad you could join us this morning. All right. So we're looking at the Meged, right? So excellence. Okay. Now let's look at Pari. All right. So in the Brown Driver Briggs, Pari is something that produces fruit, offspring, children, fruitful actions. Okay. So your words and your deeds. Okay. That's fruit. That's how you identify whether there's good fruit on the tree or bad fruit on the tree. You watch words and actions. Okay. So the primitive root for pari is para. Okay. And it means to bear fruit, as in being a fruitful branch, to show fruitfulness. Yeah. It's your words and your deeds. This is how we show fruitfulness. Okay. So now let's look at some verses that bring this out. So in Matthew 3:10, it says, and now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. He's saying, he is a fruit inspector. He is inspecting our words and our deeds, right? To see whether we have fruit that is coming from the seed, his seed. Okay. All of this, he said, remember how Yahusha said, if you want to understand all the parables, you've got to understand the seed and the sower, right? There was seed cast into the field. Think about the wheats and the tares. What was he asked? Didn't you sow good seed in your field? And he said, while the gardener, who should be watching over, was sleeping, the enemy sowed a bad seed. But now we've got to let the two grow up together, because to remove the tare would destroy the wheat, right? So who had control? Who was given charge to guard the garden? Adam. Adam was, right? And he did not guard. I mean, that's literally, Eve may have been the one deceived and taken the fruit, but she gave it to Adam and he ate. But it was Adam's job to guard. He was given, he's guarded. We're told over and over in the world, guard the Shabbat, guard the word, we're to be watchmen. We have to be careful about, what's coming into influence our whoever's within our realm of influence and authority that Yah has given us, whether it's a community, whether it's a family, whatever it is. Okay. Ourselves, we're to guard our gates and make sure things don't come in. That's why we watch what we allow our ears to hear and our eyes to see. That's why, even though I was thinking about this. Carrie was talking about it on her Mercy Poured Forth, not to be watching, yes, it's outrageous what happened at the Emmys, but do we really need to feast on that whole production to tell ourselves it's evil? No, I already know what they're going to be doing is evil. Do I need that image in my brain? I really don't. That it's not a fruit that I want to eat of, because I allow that stuff in, and it disturbs my sleep. It disturbs my shalom level. I need to be aware of what's going on, and I know a lot of evil things are, but I don't need to feast on it to understand that evil is taking place, right? All right. So let's now look at Matthew 7:17 through 20. Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. We've only got two seeds going on. We've got the good seed, which is the word, right? The word who is made flesh, the word of Yah. Either that's the seed that's in us and growing, or we've got the corrupt seed, right? It's the war of the seeds. Okay. So even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them, right? You get to know who people are. So let's look at that word fruit in the Otiot. We've got the mouth, we've got to pay, right? So what comes forth out of our mouth? Our words come forth, breath, right? It can be ruach, right? Is coming forth, right? And then you've got the mind of man. We've got a resh, right? A prince. There's an authority within it, and you've got the thinking process going on, and then you've got the hand, which is deeds, right? So from your fruit you can see is from the ruach, from the soul and the mind come forth the deeds, right? Spirit. So we're almost looking spirit, soul, body, right? Whatever the ruach is going on, this is the fruit. This is how you can see it as the seed. Whatever's going on in your ruach, in your spirit, is what then is, it drives our thoughts, the soul, right? At the soul, everything. I think I want, I feel. I think I want, I feel. I think I want, I feel. Right? That's that soul, the soulish realm, right there. And the ruach that is driving us, whether it be it for the redeemed, it is the ruach. It is a spirit from Yah, right? He's given us that. He's awakened our ruach, right? And we've got that new one. But without that, you've just got spirits that are influencing the soul. I think I want, I feel, and it affects what happens, what you do, your deeds, your work, your actions, right? That's what I see in fruit. And this is how you can tell, am I dealing with good fruit? Am I dealing with bad fruit? Right? You see it as a result of the works and the deeds, because Yah is the one who can discern what's going on in someone's soul. And he knows what ruach is driving him. But we as people, we don't necessarily know that, but we can be fruit inspectors. We can watch actions and deeds, right? So I love that word picture coming forth there from that. Okay, let me go on to the next one. So I wanted to start with one of my favorite herbs, myrrh. Okay. So let's look at myrrh. Myrrh is the word mor in Hebrew. So we've got a mem, we have a vav, and a resh. So the Brown Driver Briggs says that this is an Arabian gum from the bark of a tree. The etymological dictionary says it is an exchanging, to change or alter, transforming, a change of fate. Now that's really interesting. Keep that in mind when I go to the next slide. Okay. So I wanted to see, well, where am I finding this word in that context, right? And so you can find it in Psalm 15:4, in whose eyes a vile person is I believe that should be condemned, but he honors them that fear Yahuah, he that swears 7 oaths to his own heart and changes not. So it's about change. So the word more is to change. Okay. You see it again in Psalm 46, 1-3. Elohim is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed. Okay, so something has been altered or changed there. If the earth is removed, it's more. And though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Okay, so this is something that changes something. This is what we're seeing. So let's look just a minute at the pictograph. We've got a mem connected to thoughts. So we've got something that's changeable. Unstable as water, right? Water is not a stable thing. It moves, it waves, right? And it's connected to thoughts, connected to the brain, connected to what's making those decisions. Okay. So I just thought that was interesting. Now let's look at this one. So I wanted to give some practical information on myrrh. So one of the books that I've had for a long, long time, I don't even know if it's in print anymore, but it's called the Essential Oils Desk Reference, right? And I've been using this for ages in my study. And so the herbal information that I got, that's where it's coming from. Hello, honey. My sweetheart, Robert, just joined us. So hello. So I was looking at that. So myrrh, so think about it, it changes things, right? That's what we see in the pictograph and in the etymological dictionary, right? So myrrh is a steam distilled gum resin, many times used as a fixative so that other oils may last longer in the mixture when applied to the body. So it changes things. It makes the oils that are added to it more effective, right? And we see that right in the etymology of the word. So it is in the natural, it is a powerful antioxidant. It is anti-tumoral, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, anti-parasitic, analgesic, and an anesthetic, right? So it has a lot of great uses there. It is used to fight conditions such as diabetes, cancer, hepatitis, fungal infections, which would include candida, ringworm, eczema, tooth and gum infections, skin conditions. I know when I have had personally a tooth bothering me, and before I could get to, myrrh will numb it until and help until I can get it the attention that it needs. So it really is good for that. Of course, I'm not trying to give you medical advice. If you need medical advice, please go see your doctor, right? I'm not here to give anybody medical advice. I am not a doctor in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to just bring forth the Otiot and some interesting information for you to think about, right? So the fragrant influence is it promotes spiritual awareness and it's uplifting. Okay. It contains sequesterpenes, which stimulate the limbic system of the brain. That is the center of our memories and emotions, right? And the hypothalamus, the pineal and pituitary glands. The hypothalamus is the master gland of the human body, producing many vital hormones, including thyroid and growth hormone, right? Thank you very much. I appreciate that, past, present herbs. That's what I'm trying to do. I try not to get myself in trouble. She says, I can share my experiences. And so that is what I am doing. Okay. All right, so let's go on to frankincense. The word frankincense is lebonah, right? It's a lamed, it's a bet, it is a vav, a noon, and a hey. And so looking at the Brown Driver Briggs, it says it's a white resin burned as fragrant incense, ceremonially or personally. Look at the word picture for this one. We've got a lamed, control, right? Control, leading, guiding, directing, right? The shepherd's staff. Okay. And then what's it next to? The bet, the house. What's going on the inside, right? When you look at the way the bet, it's you're walking into the tent and you're going deep to the inside, right? All the way in. So what's going on the inside? Okay. So we've got control of the house. And then we've got a vav connected to the vav is like a nail. So it connects things. It says, I'm going to take this and I'm going to connect it to this. Okay. So we've got control of the house is connected to noon, life. Okay. And then what do we have at the end? We've got the man standing in amazement, which I often look at it. He's like, whoa. And I tell you, when I am in the midst of really just worshiping and I'm amazed at what y'all do, that's the exact position I am in. Whoa. Right. So I was looking at that for the word picture that frankincense would be control of the house that's connected to the life of worship. Why? Because it has an influence on our mind and emotions. It has an influence on the soul. It uplifts, right? So we get a good word picture of what frankincense does when we look at it in the pictograph. Now, the primitive root for the word frankincense, Lebanah, is Laban, which would be like Laban was the brother of Rachel. Okay, he had that name, but it also is the word for white in Hebrew. Oh, hello, Janie. Glad you could make it. So we're looking at it as white. So the etymology of that is whiten, purify, cleanse. It's a burning clay in the fire to brick. So it's purifying that clay, right? It's a bright white. It's brick that's been fired in the oven. Frankincense, a bright moon, right? Or an aspen tree. There was a lot there when I looked at it. So I thought that was really interesting that there was so much connected with the primitive root of that word. Okay, so now let's just look at the practical aspects of frankincense. Frankincense is a steam distilled gum resin. It is also known as olibanum, or oil from Lebanon. The name frankincense is derived from a medieval French word for real incense, right? So this is according to the Essential Desk reference where they take it, right? Of course, when we looked, we took it all the way back to the Hebrew, not just to medieval France. Okay, so it is an anti-tumoral. It is a immunostimulant. It helps stimulate your immune system. That's good to know. An antidepressant. And it's muscle relaxing. I know it's also really good for skin. I will put it in many things. Like I make all my own face creams and stuff like that because chemicals really bother me and I don't like putting stuff like that on my skin. So I make my own out of some shea butter and some beeswax and some oils. And I always add in some essential oils, and frankincense is one that I definitely like for my skin. And so I'll put it in my face cream. And when I start my morning by washing my face and then applying that every morning, then I have that smell right there, so that I can smell that and help start my day off with a little help, right, from the frankincense that Yah made and gave to us, and uplift my thoughts. And if I add to that, gratitude and thankfulness, and just looking at what's right in my world, those things will help me start my day off in the right direction. And then picking up Yah's word and meditating, no matter what I've got on my plate that day, if I can start my day going in the right direction like that, it's really helpful. So it is used to fight depression, cancer, respiratory infections, and inflammation. It stimulates the immune system. So the fragrant influence is it increases spiritual awareness. It promotes meditation. It improves our attitude and uplifts spirits. It contains, just like myrrh, same thing, sequesterpenes, which stimulate the limbic system of the brain, the center of our memories and emotions, and the hypothalamus, pineal, and pituitary glands. The hypothalamus is the master gland of the human body, producing many vital hormones, including thyroid and growth hormone. So that fragrant influence right there is the same as the myrrh, frankincense and myrrh. All right. So now let's look at spikenard. All right. So spikenard just is called nerd when you look at it in the Hebrew. Okay. So we've got the Brown Driver Briggs says it's an odoriferous aromatic plant from India. Okay. And the etymology means it will just overpower with scent, right? It's a really strong, scent. So in Song of Solomon's 112, it said, still the king's divan sends forth the scent of him from the spikenard he gave me, right? So that's a really flowery statement there, right? The king's divan, right, sends forth the scent of him, the scent of him, the scent of who? Yahusha, I believe, right? From the spikenard he gave me. He gave us like something to remind us. It's a strong, overpowering scent, right? I mean, I just find that to be incredible what it's saying there. So let's just look at the Otiot for a minute. We've got life, affecting the brain, right? The promise of life, of new life, of sprouting forth, of generations of children, right? Sprouting forth. So it's just full of promise in the brain, which opens up a door. And what did Yahusha tell us? He is the door. The only door that I'm looking to walk through is the doorway into his kingdom. So, he gave us this spice that is like, it's an overpowering scent, right? To focus life in our brain, thoughts that lead to life, right? To go through that doorway. So I thought that was interesting. So what do we know too about spikenard? Spikenard, we'll see it is steam distilled from roots of the tree. I tried to put a little picture here of what it was, and it was one of the most precious oils in antiquity. It was reserved for use by kings and priests, right? You had to be, the upper echelon to get your hands on spikenard, right? It was not for the common man. It was too costly and expensive. And what I love the story about Mary of Bethany coming to Yahusha before the Passover supper, before he willingly laid down his life for us, right? For as our redemption, and how she comes and she anoints him, right? And so what do we see that spikenard does? It strengthens the heart. And what do you do when you're crucified? There's a great amount of stress on your lungs and on the circulatory system, right? It improves circulation. Okay. And look how she just lavished it on him, and understanding that it was reserved for kings. He is our king, so it's amazing, right? So it is used to fight now. It will help fight insomnia. So it brings peace and calmness to the mind and helps us rest, right? Any women's menstrual problems, PMS, heart arrhythmias, right? So it puts our heart in the right motion, and it helps our nervous system. So those are all some really great things, right? Oh, isn't that, I love this. Amanda saying she's been obsessed with Nitsa's Teshuva blend. You know, that is so funny. I have that on my desk. And before, Nitsa had sent me this as a gift. And before I started this teaching today, I anointed myself with that. And I really hadn't even looked at exactly what was in it. So that is really interesting, Amanda, that Nitsa's blend has all this, because I absolutely love it. It's just amazing, right? So I have it sitting right here and I have it on. Okay. So yeah, go, if you don't have that, go to www.remnantremedy.com, and that is Nitsa's site. And that's where all my oils come from. I love Nitsa. I trust Nitsa. I know the care and love and prayer that she puts into everything she does. And if I'm going to, anoint myself or use oils, I'm going to do it from a source that I trust. And I trust her because prayer and intention is put into these things, and I know who Nitsa is, and I know that I can trust her. So yeah, go get your oils, support a Torah observant sister and family, right? With Nitsa and her family, right? Absolutely. That's so funny. She's saying she's a gem of a living stone. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the fragrant influence of this spikenard is that it is relaxing, soothing. It helps nourish and regenerate the skin. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Let me see what else I've got here. All right. So that was as far as I got today. There's a lot more, but I've been talking for 51 minutes and I already talked for an hour. So I'm going to have to do a part 2 because I want to go into some more of these herbs. So I'll be working on my study so that I can bring another part to this and we can dig a little bit further into the herbs and the Otiot lessons we can find out of the herbs. I hope you guys have enjoyed this today. I've enjoyed doing this study, and I'm so grateful each and every one of you came to join me and pray that this is a blessing to you. I always pray that you can hear Yah's message for your life within whatever message he's bringing from me, that he brings his own message to your heart for right where you're at. Thank you so much, Past, Present Herbs. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it today. All righty. Well, that is it for now. And shalom, and may you enjoy the rest of your day today.
Oh, yeah. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the ancient of days. From every nation, all of creation, bow before the ancient of days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O ancient of days. Oh, blessing and honor, glory and power be unto